Features of ASP.NET 2.0. What's new in ASP.NET? The Microsoft .NET Framework version 2.0 includes significant enhancements to ASP.NET in virtually all areas. ASP.NET has been improved to provide out-of-the-box support for the most common web application situations. You will find that you can get websites and pages up and running more easily and with less code than ever before. At the same time, you can add custom features to ASP.NET to accommodate your own requirements. Specific areas in which ASP.NET has been improved are productivity. You can easily and quickly create ASP.NET web pages and applications using new ASP.NET server controls and existing controls with new features. New areas such as membership, personalization, and themes provide system-level functionality that would normally require extensive developer coding. Core development scenarios, particularly data, have been addressed by new data controls, no-code binding, and smart data display controls. Flexibility and extensibility. Many ASP.NET features are extensible so that you can easily incorporate custom features into applications. The ASP.NET Provider model, for example, provides pluggable support for different data sources. Performance. Features such as pre-compilation, configurable caching, and SQL cache invalidation allow you to optimize the performance of your web applications. Security. It is now easier than ever to add authentication and authorization to your web applications. Hosting. ASP.NET includes new features that make it easier to manage a hosting environment and create more opportunities for hosters to add value. Computer languages and frameworks evolve as the needs of the development community evolve. ASP.NET is certainly no exception. ASP.NET 2.0 is the first major update to the ASP.NET framework and includes solutions to common problems encountered with ASP.NET 1.x, as well as new features that greatly increase the flexibility and functionality of web development on the .NET platform. If you're still working with ASP applications, then ASP.NET 2.0 offers even more incentive to upgrade. Goals of ASP.NET 2.0. Improve the reliability and usability of web applications. Currently, many ASP.NET 1.x applications run on Microsoft IIS 5.0. ASP.NET 2.0 leverages new IIS 6.0 features for improved performance and scalability. Specifically, IIS 6.0 provides a new process model which greatly enhances the ability of a server to host multiple applications in a truly independent fashion. Each ASP.NET application resides in its own isolated process and cannot accidentally interact with other applications. Quite simply put, applications can no longer break into each other. Each application runs completely separated from every other application. If one application crashes, it doesn't affect other applications. In terms of usability, new features such as master pages and themes allow you to develop large web applications using a consistent structure that is manageable and configurable. Reduces the number of lines of code you have to write in common scenarios. ASP.NET 2.0 includes wizards and controls that allow you to perform frequent tasks, for example, data access, without having to write a single line of code. Visual Studio 2005 includes designers to lay out and configure complex pages with data-bound tables. As a developer, you can use the wizards to work faster and smarter. ASP.NET 2.0 also leverages changes in the .NET framework. Offer user features to personalize web applications. ASP.NET 2.0 includes built-in controls to help you manage user accounts and personalize the content and layout of pages in your application. First, the membership service lets you track users. The new login controls integrate with the membership service to allow you to automate account creation and user login without writing any code. The new Web Parts feature allows you to create web applications that contain controls that can be edited and personalized by users. Users can select and customize the parts that are displayed on a web page as they see fit. Finally, the profile service provides long-term persistence of user preferences and data through declarative XML configuration. Provide enhanced design features to generate consistent layouts and design. ASP.NET 2.0 supports master pages, themes and skins to build applications with a consistent page layout and design. These new features are easy to implement and modify and greatly enhance the manageability and maintainability of large applications. Many of the new features in ASP.NET 2.0 are aimed specifically at addressing these goals. ASP.NET 2.0 builds on ASP.NET 1.x to provide a powerful web application development platform. What does ASP.NET 2.0 mean to ASP developers? For ASP developers, the impact of the many new features in ASP.NET 2.0 is largely dependent on your development background. You no longer have to worry about HTML tags, post, get, and query strings. You can focus on developing code that implements business logic. This spaghetti code made readability very difficult. Scripting code could be inserted anywhere, which also made it hard to build well-designed applications that shared code properly and in an extensible fashion. You can also leverage master pages to quickly create a coherent design for your application or apply skins and themes to programmatically set the look and feel of your web pages. Changes in architecture. The fundamental architecture of ASP.NET has always been designed for flexibility and extensibility. ASP.NET 2.0 continues this tradition by incorporating a new provider model to support many of the new features. New utilities and APIs have been added to improve site maintenance and improve configuration. All of these changes are designed to make developing ASP.NET 2.0 applications a faster and a more streamlined process, while still providing the flexibility and extensibility that developers were used to with ASP.NET 1.x. ASP.NET 2.0 Providers. The provider model defines a set of interfaces and hooks into the data persistent layer that provides storage and retrieval for specified requests. In this way, the provider model acts as a programming specification that allows ASP.NET 2.0 to service unique client concerns. ASP.NET 2.0 uses a wide variety of providers, including membership. The membership provider manages, supports user authentication and user management. Profile. The profile provider supports storage and retrieval of user-specific data linked to a profile. Personalization. The personalization provider supports persistence of web part configurations and layouts for each user. Site navigation. The site navigation provider maps the physical storage locations of ASP.NET pages with a logical model that can be used for in-site navigation and linked to the various new navigation controls. Data providers. ADO.NET has always used a provider model to facilitate the connection between a database and the ADO.NET. API.ASP.NET 2.0 builds upon the data provided by encapsulating many of the ADO.NET data calls in a new object called a data source. Each new type of provider acts independently of the other providers. You can therefore replace the profile provider without causing problems with a membership provider. The ASP.NET 2.0 coding model. In ASP.NET 1.x, you could develop an ASP.NET page in one of two ways: code direct, code behind. First, you could put your code directly in line with your ASP.NET tags. The code inline model is very similar to the coding model that was prevalent with classical ASP and other scripting languages. However, the code inline model has several problems, such as the intermixing of code and HTML. ASP.NET 1.0 introduced the code behind model as a replacement. The code behind model used an external class to house the code, while the ASPX page contained the HTML and ASP.NET tags. The code behind model thus successfully separated code from content. However, it created some interesting inheritance issues and forced the developer to keep track of two files for each web page. The primary difference between a code behind file in ASP.NET 1.x and ASP.NET 2.0 is that a code behind file is now a partial class rather than a full class that inherits from the ASPX page. A partial class is a new .NET construct that allows you to define a single class in multiple source files. In ASP.NET 2.0, a partial class is particularly useful for code-behind files as it removes the inheritance relationship that is present with the older code-behind model. Two partial classes are merged into a single class during compilation. The code-behind file is therefore free of all the control declarations and inheritance issues associated with the old code-behind model. The most striking difference can be seen in the actual code-behind file, which no longer contains all of the auto-generated code that used to be necessary to maintain the inheritance relationship. A new code-behind file. When you use the code-behind model in Visual Studio 2005, any code you add to the page will automatically be added to a open tag script close tag block within the ASPX file instead of to a code-behind class. However, Visual Studio 2005 still displays the code in the code view. In other words, you can keep using Visual Studio like you always have, except that the code will be placed directly in the ASPX page instead of a separate class. Configuration and site maintenance. One of the most difficult challenges as an ASP.NET developer was properly configuring the web.config file. In ASP.NET 2.0 and Visual Studio 2005, you now have several new features to help you with this task. Intellisense in web.config. First, Visual Studio's Intellisense feature has now been extended to any XML file that has a valid schema. In the case of the web.config file, this means that you get full Intellisense support whenever you edit the web.config file from within Visual Studio. Intellisense helps reduce the chance of misconfigured files. However, ASP.NET 2.0 also includes a new administrative website and a Microsoft Management Console to make things even easier. Administrative website. To simplify the process of managing users, it provides a built-in website configuration tool. The Website Administration Tool is a simple website that can only be accessed on the local host through Visual Studio 2005. Through this tool, an administrator can manage the application by configuring services such as user management, the personalization providers, security, and profiles. The tool also allows you to easily configure debugging and tracing information for your application. Although the tool is limited to local applications, you can easily access all of the same configuration features through the improved configuration and administration API. Microsoft Management Console Snap-in. ASP.NET 2.0 displays a special Microsoft Management Console MMC Snap-in for IIS that lets you decide which applications should use which versions of the .NET framework. The MMC IIS tab lets you choose which version of ASP.NET your application uses and displays a web.config location. In addition to managing the framework version, the console has an Edit Configuration button which lets you visually edit most of the web.config settings without having to directly manipulate the web.config XML file. As an administrator, you will find that this MMC Snap-in provides an incredibly useful configuring and managing multiple ASP.NET applications on a single server. Enhanced Configuration APIs. System.configuration.configuration class. We can also retrieve and edit configuration information using the System.configuration.configuration class. APIs let you programmatically access XML configuration files. The following code displays the type of authentication enabled for an application on your local machine. Compilation Options. ASP.NET 2.0 offers 4 different compilation models for a web application. Normal, ASP.NET 1.x, Batch Compilation, Deployment Pre-compilation, Full Runtime Compilation. Normal, ASP.NET 1.x. In a normal ASP.NET web application, the code behind files were compiled into an assembly and stored in the /bin directory. The web pages ASPX were compiled on demand. This model worked well for most websites. However, the compilation process made the first request of any ASP.NET page slower than subsequent requests. ASP.NET 2.0 continues to support this model of compilation. Batch compilation. In ASP.NET 2.0, you can batch compile any application with a single URL request. As with ASP.NET 1.x, batch compiling removes the delay on the first page request but creates a longer cycle time on startup. In addition, batch compilation still requires that the code behind files are compiled pre-deployment. Deployment pre-compilation. A new feature of ASP.NET 2.0 allows for full compilation of your project prior to deployment. In the full compilation, all of the code behind files, ASPX pages, HTML, graphics, resources, and other backend code are compiled into one or more executable assemblies, depending on the size of the application and the compilation settings. The assemblies contain all of the compiled code for the website, and the resource files and the configuration files are copied without modification. This compilation method provides for the greatest performance and enhanced security. If you're working with highly visible or highly secure websites, this option is the best choice for final deployment. However, if you're building a small site running on your local intranet and the site changes frequently, full pre-compilation may be overkill. Full runtime compilation. At the other extreme of deployment pre-compilation, ASP.NET 2.0 provides a new mechanism to compile the entire application at runtime. That is, you can put your uncompiled code behind files and any other associated code in the new /code directory and let ASP.NET 2.0 create and maintain references to the assembly that will be generated from these files at runtime. This option provides the greatest flexibility in terms of changing website content at the cost of storing uncompiled code on the server. Changes in development. ASP.NET 2.0 and Visual Studio 2005 also change many of the day-to-day aspects of web application development. In this section, we will look at several of the areas where features available in ASP.NET 1.x have been heavily modified. Development tools. Intellisense. Intellisense helps you develop code faster by issuing pop-up programming hints. Every time you reference an object in your code, Intellisense offers you a list of available methods, properties, and events. You no longer have to type out complete methods or search documentation for parameter specifications. Previous releases of Visual Studio.NET had excellent Intellisense support, but the Visual Studio 2005 allows you to take advantage of Intellisense and script blocks, inline CSS style attributes, configuration files, and any XML file that contains a DTD or XML schema references. Wizards to auto-generate code for many tasks. One of the major goals of ASP.NET 2.0 is to reduce development time and the number of lines of code you have to write. Visual Studio 2005 includes wizards you can use to create data source connections and many other common tasks. Designer support for master pages, themes, and skins. Classic ASP pages required you to start each new page from scratch. Replicating page layout in an application was a time-consuming process. WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get. Visual Studio 2005 provides full WYSIWYG support for the ASP.NET master pages. Master pages are page templates that can be used to apply consistent style and layout to each page in your application. After you create a master page, you can easily create new pages that leverage your master page and let ASP.NET automatically apply the style and layout of the master page. Visual Studio 2005 lets you see how any content you add to a page will look when you combine with the master page. Improved code editing features. Editing code is not an easy task in traditional ASP applications. Visual Studio 2005 makes code editing much easier by preserving all HTML code, including white space, casing, indentation, carriage returns, and word wrapping. Visual Studio 2005 allows you to set style formats for the HTML code for your application that can be improved or exported to standardized development. Style sheets allow you to format the way your content is displayed to a user. Visual Studio.NET 2005 allows you to customize the format for how your HTML code is written. For example, you can enforce style guidelines to ensure all HTML tags are capitalized or that all nested HTML elements are indented 2 spaces. These guidelines allow your entire development team to develop pages with the same formatting rules. Visual Studio 2005 also supports tag outline and tag navigation modes to help you edit large documents. These modes allow you to move through, expand, and collapse HTML and ASP.NET tags and to see open and close tag relationships clearly. You can easily add and edit tables into HTML pages using the Insert Table dialog box. The wizard lets you specify the style, size, table width and number of rows and columns, and format of a table without writing any code. Visual Studio 2005 Lightweight Web Server. Visual Studio 2005 includes a lightweight web server for developing ASP.NET applications. The web server services local requests only and is perfect for development. By adding this web server, you no longer need to use IIS on a development machine. You can use the built-in server and get full debugging support. Another important advantage is any user can build and test an application. You no longer need to be an administrator on the computer. It should be noted that you must still deploy your final applications on IIS. Improved debugging environment. Debugging applications in ASP is an arduous process, as code is interpreted on the fly. Syntax errors aren't exposed until you run applications. The debugging support is improved in Visual Studio 2005. Visual Studio .NET 2003 provided limited support for edit and continue debugging. Visual Studio 2005 improves edit and continue debugging and provides more information during the debugging process. For example, an improved implementation of data types provides information about variables and expressions as mouse pop-up windows during the debugging process. Visual Studio 2005 also provides additional features like advanced debugging with breakpoints on disassembly, registers, addresses when applicable, and just my code stepping.